everyone. Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast. Today on our Community Spotlight series, I am here with Jason from Campsite Cruising, and we're going to talk a little bit about his life and journey today. So, Jason, you want to maybe start out with a little bit of an introduction and kind of tell us, what got you started in RV life?
Okay, sure. Well, we tent camped for, I'll tell people we tent camped forever. So probably about 20 years or so, close to it, my wife and I tent camped. And we learned a lot of it on our own. We had a couple friends that would say, "What are you doing?" Things like that. But
Yep.
overall, we just did it by ourselves. And then a lot of people within the camping lifestyle will gradually, move to different areas. And so around the time of the pandemic, we had got a little bit of a deal from someone on a pop-up. And so we were, all right, cool. We're going to have a pop-up camper now and get rid of our old tent. And we were having some trouble with getting it registered and licensed and everything. And my wife says I'm a rule follower. So I'm like, we can't just drive this thing off to a campground or anything. So the people that we got it from were gracious enough to basically give us our money back. And so
That's great.
we kind of just stopped camping for a couple years there. And then our family expanded. And so I'm always like, let's go camping, and then we were like, well, let's start looking for an RV. And so I was just looking online, trying to learn what I could. And we spent a couple years like, okay, this is kind of what we're looking for. It's kind of not what we're looking for. One thing we didn't want to do is buy a bigger vehicle. So you have to keep that weight into consideration. And there was some stuff that was helpful, but a lot of stuff was just kind of, I don't know, it seemed like everything was just a product. Everybody wanted to sell something. When we eventually got our first camper, and I was like, maybe I'll start a channel,
Yeah.
maybe I can help the next Jason that doesn't know what in
Yes.
the world he's doing, and that's kind of where it was. We kicked around ideas and what could we call it, this and that, what are we going to do? And just one day we were just walking around a campground and my wife was like, what about campsite cruising? And I was like, oh, that's great. That's perfect. And that's
Yep.
where campsite cruising was born. And then in that process, I've been learning how to do all of it, and try to share it with other people.
Yeah, no, that's great. And there, you can't really have, I mean, people will say, oh, the market's saturated. Yeah, but is it really? I mean, there's like, over a million RVers out there, and there's people that get into it every week, every day. There's people that get out of it, and it's such a cycle. And you've got your part-timers and you've got your full-timers, and all of them can stand to learn something. I mean, I'm 8 years on the road full time. I'm still learning stuff, every week. You never
Right.
stop learning, it's just kind of, and you may know stuff that I don't even know because you've experienced it. It all kind of, how does it
Right.
all unfold for each, unique
Yeah.
adventure and everything too? Because we all experience different things. So what is your setup like? Do you guys have a travel trailer or fifth wheel? Like what do you have?
Yeah. So we have a 2025 Jayco J Flight. It's like 170 BH or something. So we pull with a Honda Pilot all-wheel drive. So one of the
Okay.
biggest things for us is weight.
Yep.
We've got it. It doesn't come with a tow package. It's not a touring edition or anything. So we went through the process of getting the hitch, getting the electric brakes, getting the transmission cooler on it and everything. While it's still not it's a good towing vehicle, right? It works. But I mean, we learned there's no air conditioner when you're pulling the camper with that thing because
Right.
transmission fluid is going to overheat. And so when we were looking, it has to be small enough and light enough to where we can actually put some things in it and go somewhere. So that's kind of
Okay.
what we have. We just use the Honda Pilot, and then the camper, which is, believe it or not, it's bigger than the first one that we had, but it weighs a little less and there's more
Yeah.
space. so so
It's
that's kind of
crazy
where
how
we
that
are.
happens sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good. And I give you props for paying attention to all of that because so many people don't pay attention to those details, or they'll
Mhm.
go to an RV dealership and they'll ask the salesman, hey, can this vehicle tow that? And they'll inevitably say yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Mm.
matter if it really can or not. They'll tell you
Right.
yes because
Yeah.
they're in it to make the sale of the RV, right? And
Yeah.
they don't care what happens to it after you drive it off the lot.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that a little bit because it sounds like you've done, quite a bit of research on things. There's all these different letters like GVWR, GCWR,
Mhm.
CCC, and you want to kind of define what each of those terms mean a little bit and what it how it relates to the RV and the tow vehicle and everything combined.
Yeah, definitely will, on some of it. As you know, we're working on a video on our side where we're reaching out to people like you all to share that
Yep.
information with others. Because when I started, I'm looking in the owner's manual, I'm reading this. The guy at the RV dealership is like, you can tow almost anything here. And I'm like, but I'm pretty sure I can't. And so
Right.
you got to know how much you can tow. And it's a lot of times it's listed as the dry weight when you're looking at, let's say it's a 3,000 pound travel trailer like ours is, and our car can tow 5,000. So roughly, with gas and people and equipment and stuff, you've got a little bit of a wiggle room, but you don't want to max it out at that 5,000. You just only want to kind of add a little bit because you've still got travel, you've got, braking, driving, fuel efficiency and stuff like that. So that was to me, that's one of the biggest things that I hope that people can learn. But yeah, all those terms and they're confusing, right? When you first start, I'm like, okay, what is my capacity? Do I go to a weigh station and all that? And it's just so important to learn that stuff.
It
And
is.
that's why I've toyed with the idea for a while. When I do my little analytics things about my channel and stuff, it's like people don't pay attention to your RV stuff. They pay attention to your Blackstone stuff and camping stuff. And then I'll go that way and then nothing happens. And so I'm trying to keep it well rounded and not become a cooking channel. So I want to
Right.
try to get back to where let's educate somebody. Me, I still need to be
Yeah.
educated.
Now you're not full time, right? You're part time?
Right. Yeah, I call it
Okay.
sometimes or anytime.
If you can go somewhere, you are. Where is your some of your favorite places to camp?
Well, we're based in North Carolina and we both have full-time jobs. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times we're going 2, 3 hours from where we live because you don't want to pull in at night, if you can avoid it. So we've got to go towards the coast quite a few times. We live not too far from the Outer Banks of North Carolina and all the beaches and stuff. So our
Mhm.
very first camping trip that we took it was the perfect breaking you into you have a camper now, but you still don't have electric and water.
Right.
So we got a site at Carolina Beach State Park, which is near Wilmington, North Carolina, and it's a beautiful state park, and it's 10-minute drive to the ocean and all that. And there was hardly, it's always booked up. And when we told people we got it, they're like, I can't believe you got a spot. It was a little bitty pull through spot, no electric, no hookups at all. But that was our first experience. It was perfect because I got to see how long the battery would last, what we could use, what we couldn't use, and learn how to use the fresh tank and things like that, and dumping before you go. But it was all right. We're finally sleeping in a firm shelter, but we don't
Instead
have
of on the
anything.
ground.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say Carolina Beach is probably one of my favorite places. We do like a lot of the state parks. There's a
Yeah.
place over in the middle of the state called Zooland Family Campground, which is near the North Carolina Zoo. So
Mhm.
that's fantastic. It's a legit RV campground, so you can go and hang out and do various things. But then 15 minutes down the road is you know a really large zoo, so you can take grandkids, kids, things like that. So,
Yep.
it seems like I don't know how you are with it, but a lot of times I'll find something at a place that I was like that I like almost everything about every place that we go to. It's
Yep.
all a little different.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you do this, you do start to find some places that you're kinda like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to return there." But if you love traveling and if you love camping, I mean, at least for us, we kinda like it just about everywhere. People like to ask that question, "Where's your favorite national park?" or "Where's your favorite place to camp?" And honestly, I can't answer the question 'cause I'm like, I don't know that I have a favorite. They're all great. We do lean towards state parks. I like you guys do some state parks. I love state park camping just because they're a little quieter than the private RV parks. You get more space. You're not on top of each other. I'm
Mhm.
not a sardine park person. I don't know if you've ever
Right.
camped in a sardine park.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you walk out your RV and you can touch
Mhm.
the RV next to
Yep.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm definitely in it for more of the peace and quiet and stuff. And everybody's got a different style, and that's okay. Everybody
Right.
needs to do what works for them. If you like the sardine parks and being near a big city and doing the museums and stuff, like do it. You know, it's about doing what makes you happy and finding your own way. So I think that's great. What would be a dream destination for you? Like if you could take a week vacation, 2-week vacation or whatever
Mm,
and go anywhere in the United States, you know, what is one of your bucket list locations that you would love to go to?
I think I like weird things, so I'm
Mhm.
like a big, Bigfoots and aliens and things like that, so
Yeah.
always over towards the Roswell area would be cool.
Yeah.
And then probably the number 1, though, would be, like, the Florida Keys. I don't wanna
Yeah.
drive there, but it's such a neat place.
It is.
So I would say those. Maybe I've always joked that I need to get rich so that I can have a summer home in Canada and a winter home in Florida.
Uh,
But but if I ever get to retire, maybe I could do that with a
a
camper.
camper.
So
Yep. You know, you chase the warm weather. You go north for the summer or south for the winter. I mean, that's how we do it. And yeah, you take your home with you, so you have a comfortable bed wherever you go.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about family for a minute. Do you got kids, grandkids, and do they ever go camping with you, or how does that look?
Yeah, we've got 2 adult kids and 2 grandkids, and so
Mhm.
we kinda set a rule of when you get a certain age, you can go camping with grandma and grandpa, just because you don't wanna be on the trail changing a diaper, chasing the kid around. But so, the oldest one is old enough to go now, and
That's fun.
she's been a couple times and she loves it.
Oh, that's great.
She'll be in the living room playing camping,
Yeah.
and so just all that stuff all the time, and we'll just be in the house, and she's like, she calls me Papa. Papa, let's go out to the camper, and I'm just like, there's nothing to do in the camper right now. So the kids, our youngest one, I felt like we probably made him go when he was younger to try to get him into doing it, and he's kind of at the age now where he's not interested. But if his
Yeah.
buddies called to go camping, they would go camping. You know what I
He'd go in an instant. Yeah.
mean?
It's
Yeah.
not cool with mom and dad, but
Right.
it's cool
Yeah.
with my friends type thing.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Have you, you know, in the time that you've had your RV, have you had to fix or repair a lot of things? I mean, sometimes you hear horror stories.
Mhm.
You don't always hear the good stories. You know, what
Right.
has it been like for you as far as things breaking?
So our first one, I won't say the name of the company because I feel like I pick on them a little bit, and they don't even exist anymore. Like they were bought out by someone else.
Yep.
But I mean, we got it. It was a heck of a deal. It was half price because it was after the model year was over. It was already a budget camper, as people say. A lot of people are like, oh, we've got the Jayco, and people are like, oh, that's a nice little budget camper. And I'm like, oh, it's a perfect camper for me. I don't care.
Yep.
It's my budget. But
That's right.
we got it and trying to learn all this. And it had a sidewall air conditioner in it. And then you see online where there's problems with that leaking. And then you start feeling your walls and you're just like, oh, I don't know if that's soft or not, And so you're messing with that. And then at the end of our first summer, we got it like the weekend before Memorial Day, first camping trip Memorial Day. I would say probably November ish. We noticed a
Mhm.
bubble on the front wall, and it's a walk-in teardrop, so it curved. And I was like, "Oh man, is that just like humidity? Is that what is it?" And so get to poking around, and no, the light on the outside, which was common in this model, leaked, and so the whole
No.
front side of the front part of it was
Got it.
just had to rip it out, and it's like
Yeah.
people like, "Oh, man, you should try to get the warranty on it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but the place was 3 hours away. I'm mad. I don't wanna talk to nobody. I'm gonna fix it myself."
Sometimes it's easier to fix it yourself than to take it to a
Yeah,
dealership. I'm gonna be honest.
but that poor thing, I mean, I really did call I started calling it the lemon because the air conditioner it wasn't built right in my opinion, and I'm not a
Yep.
RV manufacturer, but, I mean, we had that problem, and it was like a known problem when I started looking online. And
Yep.
then all the electric quit working, and I changed out checked the fuses and this and that and the plugins, and it still wouldn't work. Whereas I've got this channel, and so I'll try to get little video clips of campers and stuff. And they had a dealer sell at like a big strip mall, a
Mhm.
little ways away, and it was just like, hey, let's just run in here and we're not talking to anybody. I'm just going to go in here. We're going to take some pictures of some stuff and we're going to get out. And then, of course, you're a good salesman, right? If you can get rid of something. But they were like, you know how it is. It's just like a car. Hey, if we can work this out.
Right?
And it was good because, I mean, we got rid of something that was just gonna be a continued problem. Like,
Yep.
I was looking at it, was like, I didn't redo the front wall right. I'm gonna have to rip it out and do it again. I still can't get the air conditioner to drain how I need it to drain. Now my electricity doesn't work. I still need to put an awning on it. It doesn't have an awning, and this
Right.
dude has all this, and he's gonna pay off the little bit of loan I got left on that one. Yeah, let's do it.
Why not? Right? Yeah, and now you got more space and,
Yeah.
it's better built. And how has this unit been? Like, have you had any issues with it or, things that have had to be repaired or
No, not at all, and that's kinda scary because, I mean, something always happens, I mean, it's just that's the nature of it, the cliche
Right.
of earthquake as you go down the road.
Yep.
We had set a goal for ourselves this year, we're camping at least once a month whole year, and then, home projects come up and this and that, and so it's been sitting in the yard for the last 3 months or so, and I
Oh,
winterized it and, took the battery and propane off of it, and I'm like, "I guess I go sit in it sometimes," but I'll go around and I feel around the windows and make sure nothing is leaked and all that, and just trying to take what I learned from the other one and kind of look for those kinds of things or something else with the new one
yep.
because I don't want to go through that again.
No, you don't. It's not fun, and you never know. I mean, things do pop up, but sometimes they don't. Like I said, you don't always hear the good stories. People always like to complain when things go wrong, but they don't always, talk about when things go right. And you might have a good unit that you don't have issues, or a couple years down the road you start to have issues. I mean, you never know. So it's just about how you approach it. And you seem to have a fix it mentality, which is a great mentality to have. Being an RVer and everything. What about hobbies? You guys go camping. Do you just sit in your campsite the whole time, or do you guys go hiking, kayaking? Like, what are some of the things you guys like to do when you are camping?
Yeah, we definitely like to get out. I mean, if it's up to me, I'm going to plop down that chair and I'm going to stare at that campfire and I'm just going to not do anything.
Right.
Maybe I'll walk to the bathhouse or something, you know? But my wife is definitely more, let's do something kind of person. So we'll hit the trails. One of the cool things about going to some of the private places is they'll have, oh my gosh. So we saw our first ever, like, RV DJ and thing. And that was a little
Yeah.
different for us, that kind of stuff. Or even, the state parks will have little programs or something like, especially with kids like junior rangers and things like that.
Yeah.
And so when we do take our granddaughter, try to use it as learning and still
Yep.
having fun, as she knows the code to get into the camper, and she's, I want to do it. So,
Yep.
all those kinds of things. So we always try to make it, if it was up to me, we would just have a boring time just sitting there. But luckily, my family is like, we could do that at home.
Right.
So we get out and even we even like going out in the area, like it's not just in the campground. One of
Yep.
the first RV resort we stayed at, went to a winery not too far from there. We went to a historic battlefield, checked that out. And
Mhm.
there's plenty of stuff to do at the RV park. But it was like, oh, well, we haven't been there before. We haven't been there before. We're here for a few days. Let's just try to, take it all in. So
Mm.
but yeah, that's about it except for, the campsite cruising channel is more like a hobby to me. So I'm always, even when we're on the trails, I'm like wanting to take pictures and stuff and
Right.
everybody's just turning around like, come on, man, let's go.
You were mentioning earlier that you like the odd and the unusual locations
Mhm.
and stuff. Are you familiar with Atlas Obscura?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never
Yeah.
used it, but I'll go in those rabbit holes on YouTube, where people, where they went to these coordinates and this weird stuff was going on or something like that.
Yeah.
Or we have done even just regular, like was it called Roadside America, where it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
so
maybe.
much of the crazy stuff, but, or what, or obscure stuff, but, like, I don't remember where it is, but somewhere in North Carolina, it's like, it's the tallest end of the lighthouse, and so
Yeah.
we went and found it and it was just a big lighthouse in a guy's yard. And we're like, oh, it's kind of weird staring at this guy's house,
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I personally don't use Atlas Obscura, but I know a lot of people who do, and then that's one of the things that they'll do. Like when they enter a new area, they'll go to Atlas Obscura. What's in this area? Oh, the biggest ball of yarn, or the the biggest, statue of a mosquito. I mean, I don't know. There's weird
Right.
things out there
Yeah.
everywhere. But it adds a different dimension of,
Mhm.
things that you can do or find or whatever. If you were talking to somebody that knows nothing about RVs, okay, and they want to start part-timing like you do, what would you encourage them? They want to go buy an RV. What would you encourage them to do as they start their search for an RV that fits their needs?
I would say the number one thing to do is to take your time and to start learning before you get it.
Okay.
Because like you said, we're going to go to the RV dealership and our tow capacity is 3,500 pounds. And this guy's wanting to tell us a 5,000 pound camper, but just, learn what your limits are, what you want. One thing I always liked about, I think the show was called Tiny House Nation or something, where people want to move into a tiny home and the
Yep.
host would like rope off a certain amount of this is the square feet you're going to have and this is all you can have, you know and so, like, getting an RV is kind of the same way because you say, I want to take my bikes. I want to take this. I want to take my horseshoes. But the reality is, you're not going to be able to. Like, one of the things
Right.
I've tried to do, especially when we're camping where we know we're going to be closer to a store per se, is we're not buying the big pack of water if we can help it. Anything that we can cut back on the weight to help with the gas, we can
Hmm.
unhook and go get it. But for anybody starting out, I mean, figure out what kind of things you like, set a budget. I mean, you're gonna
Hmm.
one of your podcasts, you were like, don't go beyond your means, like it's great if you got this big fancy, shiny camper,
Yep.
but my gosh, it was $100,000. And now I'm back to like college days of eating peanut butter.
Right. Ramen noodles.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's the biggest thing is, I mean, you'll get in over your head unintentionally, and then that
Yes.
ruined the fun for you. It's like, now I've wasted thousands of dollars and I've done this and done that, and people would get turned off by it. But that's why I say for us, we took a couple of years just trying to figure out what we wanted and what we needed. And then after we got the first one that was kind of, I was like, maybe I should have spent another year or so trying to learn this before I bought that thing. But, as the old saying goes, knowledge is power. The more you can learn, the better informed you'll be when you go to buy something.
And sometimes you got to get out there and experience it to know what you like a little bit too. I
Yeah.
mean, there is some of that. So as a part-timer, and there's no wrong answer to this, but people are sometimes curious because they're thinking through the logistics of it. Do you keep a separate set of dishes in your RV, separate bedding, separate things, or are you
Mhm.
constantly emptying your RV out every time you put it in storage and then reloading it up every time you go out camping? Like, how does logistically that look for you guys?
At Walmart, you can get these plastic plates for like, I think they're 50 cents.
Yep.
And so we've got the Walmart plates. I'm big on buying random things. So I've got a weird camping fork thing or this or that, but we've got separate for both,
Yep.
and it's just like, it's more minimal in the camper. There's like one pot for like
Hmm.
water or whatever. There's a skillet, and we've got the grill that we take with us and stuff. But we'll just keep all that stuff separate. We've got our sheets and everything for in there, just like a jacket or a hoodie, because you're always gonna you usually it's one of the things you usually
Weather
forget.
changes.
And then I mean we kind of stock our perishable stuff like at the beginning of the season, into spring or something. You get your condiments, your hot chocolates, your that those kinds of things. And you'll
Hmm.
just keep them in there so you're not having to grab it every time you leave. And then when we're done for the year, we just go and purge what's in the camper and then use it in the house, so that it's not sitting out there going bad. And you go out next spring and you're like, oh my gosh, we forgot the cheese. And now we're got a science experiment in the
Right.
fridge.
Now, have you guys had issues with mice sneaking in while it's, sitting there unused at all, or have you been pretty lucky on that front?
Well, we did in our first one. Like, I swear that first one was like a nightmare. We just kind of that smell, right? You get that smell,
Right.
and we just started digging around, and it took the compartment off where the what hot water heater was, and there was our friend. So far, we've been fortunate in the new one. We haven't had anything, but it's
Good.
not uncommon.
Good, good. Jason, you want to take a minute and kind of tell everybody, how they can find you, follow you on social media, things like that,
Yeah.
and what all the different platforms you're on.
Okay. Sure. So our main focus is YouTube because we want to educate the next generation of campers. hopefully entertain, but at least be helpful in some way. We have a Facebook page that's linked to our Instagram page where there's a little spillover from the YouTube page to like promote or would do the, the reels because YouTube shorts and, they're so, oh my gosh, you have to be like this on YouTube. So if you want to have a personality, you have to go somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I get goofy, on the Instagram page and that carries over into Facebook. And then I did TikTok 2 or 3 times and I was like, all right, I'll finally do it.
Yeah.
So, and that one's totally different. That's the goofiest stuff is on there. You did,
Oh,
but
yep.
every page is just campsite cruising. So at campsite cruising. And honestly, we try to, I'm all about the interaction. I mean, I know some channels get too big or are too big or too busy. If somebody's commenting, I'm like, hey, thanks. I appreciate things like that because I really do. But I mean, as you know, I'm making content. It's the same way as in your life where the comparison comes in.
But it's not about that, it's about that one person.
Yeah.
If you've had an impact on one person, in my opinion, it's worth it,
Yeah.
so stay encouraged and we'll put links to all of your stuff in our show notes for this episode. So thank you for joining me today, Jason. It's been great chatting with you. And
Yeah.
to
Thank you.
everybody who's tuned in, make sure you come back next week. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook. See you later.
Thanks for riding along with us today. Until next time, keep the wheels turning.